What's up, guys? We are back, and we've got Hunter from Whop. Hunter,
What's good, guys? I'm good. How are
we're
you?
live on X. We're live on X as well, so this should be
Sick.
a double whammy. But yeah, kick it off. So everyone knows you all over X. Everyone knows you in the info coaching land. But those who are not in info coaching land, how would you describe your current setup, what you do, where you're at?
Yeah, I work at Whop, so I've been here for about 4 years now. So I'm 23. Somehow ended up here at 19, and somehow ended up, started in Australia and somehow in New York now. But I run our sales team, so I'm head of partnerships. I run our sales and account management team, and so I pretty much oversee all customer acquisition, business acquisition, and business retention for Whop. And if you don't know what Whop is, it's a business models platform. So we help coaches, agencies, physical products now, really all different types of businesses run on the internet.
Very cool. So were you how early? Let's go OG WAP, and then we can
Yeah,
go into like current state. But I feel like a lot of people
sure.
don't know the full arc of that. I had
Yeah.
Stephen Cam on, and they kind of like rough talked about it, but not much.
Yeah, I'll probably be a little bit more specific than them because I think I have the liberty to do so. But um, I guess it probably starts with how I got involved. But I guess before then, Cam and Steve and Sharky. So there's actually three founders of Whop. They were really just like internet kids. So they went from reselling shoes to and making a huge amount of money there to running like offshore sports books to running like yeah, most people don't know that and running like or arbitrage of like crypto exchanges to essentially Cameron ended up starting with Steve a sneaker bot, where it's essentially what it does is you take a bunch of virtual credit cards, you load it up on, either a web app or sometimes a desktop app, you plug a license key in, and essentially auto runs all of those cards on like a Supreme or like a Shopify store or Nike to essentially buy out all the inventory so you could resell it later. And they started doing that early on, and then eventually they moved into, hey, we're making a ton of money with, our, sneaker bot. Why can't we work with other sneaker botters to be able to sell the license keys for them? So Whop really started off as a license key rental marketplace where you, for example, you're super into sneakers. You know that the new Travises are going to drop. You're going to rent, this specific sneaker bot to make sure you get those Travises, but you don't need that sneaker bot for more than a day. So you're only going to rent it for a period of time. And so that's what Whop started as. And then eventually over time, those sneaker botters and those developers who are selling the software were like, hey, we need a community associated with this to teach all of these new renters of these bots how to actually use the bot and how to actually put it to work. And so really Whop as a company, this is predating me, started off as first a license key rental marketplace and then slowly built out a Discord integration to essentially paywall those sneaker bots with the community. And so where I got involved was when I was 19 years old, I was studying to do a Bachelor of Engineering, and I had no money. I was living on government funding. Somehow my dad ended up in Romania, parents split, whatever, that whole shebang, and I didn't have any cash, and so I was on a scholarship at university, and I was living on the equivalent of like Social Security. And this is full circle now. I somehow got into stock trading. And the first two stocks I bought was Afterpay and Zip, which are both two Australian companies that start off as companies, right? And I ended up making like a stock investments group. And so I took all these super smart guys from university and I was like, hey, I really need to make money. Can you help me figure out how to do this? And so I started making a group there. And eventually I fell into crypto. And so that's how I really got my first internet money start was I started making a ton of money on Axie Infinity, which was like a play to earn like cryptocurrency. Like you play the game, you make money. And so I first taste of internet money was it essentially turned like my money into like 50 grand on that. So I got in really early. And then I started shit posting about that online. And eventually launched an NFT project with some college friends. And that did about like $3 million. We got really lucky, and I continued to shit post online. And eventually, I blew up on Twitter. So I ended up getting like 80 to 100,000 followers on Twitter. I got shadow banned now, but it was at Grunkwizard. And I ended up launching an agency around that. And Whop coming full circle back to what you asked, end up being one of my clients because Whop went from sneaker belt rentals to Discord. And what was popping off at the time was NFT token gating at Discord, where you can only get access to a Discord if you buy an NFT. And so I was living in I was doing the whole Dubai money, Switzerland thing at the time. Like I lived in Dubai for a little bit, and then I ended up was going Airbnb to Airbnb in Switzerland, and Whop was one of my clients for it. And so they were like, "Hey, why don't we hire you full time to run the NFT division of Whop?" Which is hilarious. And so I came on probably like 6 to 8 like actual full-time employee, and I really that's how I really started off. So I know
Yeah.
I'm rambling, but that's how it
Oh, no,
kind of
no, you're not
happened.
rambling at all. Yeah. Okay. So then did you start in this essential like role? Like, or
Yeah. So I started as like helping NFT projects. Essentially, like Whop had a product of like you verify your NFT, you get access. I started off as like getting NFT projects to do that,
yeah.
right? And um, my role originally started off. It was like really it was just like a bunch of like 20-year-old dudes just trying to essentially figure out whatever the next internet trend is, and make money from it, as a SaaS, as a software platform, right? So it was
Yeah.
like, okay, sneaker bullets, now it's like Discord, paying for a Discord, now it's okay, getting NFT projects on Discord. And it was funny. It's just like you come in every day and it's just like EDM music blasting and over caffeinated, and that's it. And it's just like six dudes. And I started doing that, and I started writing the What blog. So I was the first blog writer, and I was doing that full time. And eventually, we realized NFTs weren't really going to work out, and I was making around 150K to 200K some months, like working with these NFT projects, essentially doing their marketing and blowing them up, right? And it was kind of came to a point where I was like, okay, I'm making a ton of money. This is really sick. Like I'm 20 at the time, 19 at the time, but I don't have any fulfillment at all. So I end up going full time to work for Whop. I end up shutting down my entire agency. And that was just around the time that we started getting really involved in like Discord paywalls.
Yeah.
And so it was well, I had no idea what high ticket coaching or anything was. It's literally just like a sub for Discord. And I remember like I did a whole visa process whatnot. I was living in Mexico, I was living in Canada. Like I was working for 4 months on the like EST time zone in Australia just to stay online with Cameron
Yeah.
as we were trying to figure out how to do, these Discords. And I remember we were trying to do the TAM of like of online communities and products, and we landed at $15 million per month. That's the total TAM of every single business online making a paid community and course. We thought it was 15 million a month, and that was 2 years ago. And so that's like I really started as like the first sales rep to go and sell all of these like online communities, to essentially join our platform.
Yeah. So when you guys started to move everyone over at that time, was it mainly it was people who had their own community because you didn't have your own communities at that time, right? So it was like
Yeah.
wherever their communities hosted and you were just doing payments and
It
like
was
gating.
literally just it was literally just like a dashboard with affiliates and like a dispute fighter, and it was a Discord integration. Like you get access to this Discord role, and it was really just payment links. And so we we had a couple competitors at the time. We ended up buying them out because we outgrew them. There was a YC backed company called Hyper.co, and they were also doing like Discord paywalling. And this was really like COVID, like stock trading was blowing
Yeah.
up, reselling was blowing up, sports betting was blowing up. And that's why you probably see a lot of those businesses on Whop today, is because we started in Discord, and that's what Discord was really servicing, was those primary niches. And so we were just really coming in saying, hey, you don't need to figure out how to connect Stripe to the Discord API to fulfill a role. You can just use an out of the box, like,
Yeah.
community gated product.
Yeah. I had Luke on, but that was how Luke and I first got connected. And I was on like an NMI plus like this
Yeah.
API stack. We had this I don't even think it was Versal back then. It was whatever hosting that would like have both
Yeah.
on page. It would be like connected.
Probably like
You have
some
to be-
WordPress
Yeah, yeah.
plugin, that
Yeah.
you
I got
ran.
it.
And it
I
was
got it built for like 2K on Upwork. It would break every other day. It was great.
crazy, right? And
Right.
so there was a huge market there. And like what we would essentially do is our strategy was going to really like competitive businesses or like going on Twitter. Like we didn't even know Instagram existed for like client acquisition. And we would just go to the following of all these different Twitter accounts and we would, you know, look for, there was like Launch Pass, Upgrade Chat, Memberful,
Yeah.
Hyper. Those were like the main businesses. And we would essentially just try and win business from those. And so for me, if I got a business doing 30K a month from one of those platforms, I'd be like, oh my God, this person does $30,000 a month. And it was really easy to grow because all these businesses were using Stripe standard, like direct Stripe accounts. And we could actually import all of their subscriptions into our, at the time, Connect Stripe account. And so
Right.
it was just a really good way of us to go from like, when I first joined, we were doing like 2 million a month in GMV, like processing volume. That probably took us to like 20 million because we kind of like monopolized this like
Yeah.
organic, like no one was really using paid ads, community like niche.
So the next iteration was in store, like hosting, communities, chat, that whole functionality, like product and community.
No, so we went from like Discord and then we got into Telegram paywalls, and then we got into courses. So we like our platform is really just like a dashboard. That's what it started off with. It wasn't like some grand scheme like we're gonna do this whole community thing. It was really just a dashboard with like affiliates, Dispute Fighter, and like sort of plugins almost. And we were just, once again, similar to how like people were having license keys and want a Discord community, we started getting all these Discord businesses and Telegram businesses being like, I have my Discord, but I also have a Teachable and a Kajabi. And I'm sure you saw that early on, where it's just like you kind of piecemealed like
Yeah, we still piecemeal.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. And so we were like, okay, cool. We're just gonna hire a developer to build like a course hosting. And so Whop was just like, you get your Discord and then you get your course, and that was it. And that like it was really nothing like this whole chat. Like now today we have like our own chat, we have our own forums, we have our own live streaming, right? And but it really just, our business has always scaled from, we have this total addressable market that sales is aggressively trying to go after. Like we're a sales driven business. How do we actually make sure we get all those clients and provide value from those clients? Oh, they want a chat. Oh, they want a course. Oh, they want Discord. Oh, now today they want financing. They want, to sell a trading exchange. And so that's really how our business has always grown.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then, so I don't know how much you guys talk about like fundraising and all of that, but like what at what inflection point was that first big one? Because I think it's public. You guys say like the founder,
Yeah.
whatever, like
So
that.
so the first ever bit of fundraising we ever did was we did a pre-seed. So that was, we went through a program called Z Fellows. It's by Corey Levy. It was pretty low key. We were one of the first ones to go through at the time, but now it's, starting to become somewhat of a Y Combinator competitor. And how that worked was you essentially get $10,000 and you get introduced to like the founder of Netflix, the founder of Tinder.
Hmm.
You get like introduced to Founders Fund, like Peter Thiel
Yeah.
and all these other businesses. And so it's like you get 10 grand, but you mainly get the connections. And we end up raising a Series A. Maybe like 2 or so years ago, we raised a Series A. And that was from the connections we got from Z Fellows as well as a couple others. And that was, I think, like $200 million valuation, raised like 10, 12 mil, something like that. And then last July, we ended up raising a Series B that put us at an $800 million valuation, the total fundraising of like, I want to say 40 mil.
Yeah.
And that was from, it was from similar investors, but like founder of Eventbrite, like larger funds like Insight Partners, Signal Fire, who did like Bubble as an example. And then also just a bunch of like, strategic people that are good for growth.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when you guys are going through these next one, what was your GMV at that point on the last race?
I want to say we're doing like 30 mil a month.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
we're 4x the more than 4x the business since then.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so like let's talk now. So you guys just made this big announcement.
Yep.
Payments. When we talked to Steven on there, he was like, yeah, we're going payment direction. Some of the other competitors go really heavy course focused. They go really like the hosting side of things. You guys are going the other direction and going very hard in financing and direct pay
Yeah.
for CCs. So your new offer is what? The direct public one?
2.7% credit card
And
rates.
Stripe out of the box is 2.9?
Yeah, that's right.
That's amazing. So you guys are doing your own version of that, but like you wouldn't consider Stripe a competitor, or you
I think
would?
we totally would. So I think we get it's interesting. We get I think a bit of a misconception around like it's like Whop versus school, right? And that's oftentimes what people niche us into. And for us, like I've got 12 full-time sales reps and we're hiring pretty heavily. And how I would say our and so we're selling to a lot of different businesses. How I would say um, our businesses is we're a business model platform. And so if
Yeah.
you think about like the internet, like you need payments, you need to accept payments and you need to pay out payments. And that's like if you can't do that, you can't run a business, right? It's very unless you're a SaaS, but like it's very tough to really support any business. And so I would say for us, like school as an example, that's what we're always compared to. That's just one competitor in one business model. And that business model is paid groups, right? They're just one, like, they're really only servicing, you know, the hosting of communities, community members, and they're sort of now teaching people how to get into like selling an online product, right? They're targeting passionate individuals that are beginning to get into like the online space and they're running aggressive paid ads to do that. And they're also inspiring existing info product and coaching owners and course owners how to essentially like, host and do upsells. And so that's like one competitor. And like, for example, in just paid groups alone, you've got Heartbeat.chat, Circle, Standstore, you've got Teachable, Kajabi, School. You can name like 50 of them, right? And that's just one sort of business. But we also service agencies. We're servicing physical products now. We're moving into, for example, more interesting things like launching trading exchanges. We're going into more like SaaS now, where it's like, how does Whop replace Stripe for like billing, and like how do we capture this wave of like lovable no code apps that are using Stripe right now, but maybe want to try something else. And so I would say like our business is really like we've got payments, and those payments need to be competitive to service all of those business models. And once that's good, now it's like we have apps which are like chat, live streaming, forums, copy and paste, whatever. That's now once we have your payments, now we want to sell you that apps layer, which is vertical SaaS, which we're moving into now. And then after that, it's distribution. So like the hardest part of running a business is getting customers. How do we service that? And so how we split our business is like we have our coaching and coursing like business line. We have our agency's business line. And how do we build like the best end-to-end experience? Well, it starts with payments, right? So that's kind of how I'd think about Whop. Less so, oh, it's like a community platform. It's more of like how do you make cool shit on the internet and make a ton of money doing so.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Do you guys feel like the first thing my brain goes to is like ClickFunnels versus like Go High Level, for example. And like ClickFunnels was the best ever at like what it was, and Go
Yeah,
High Level is like the everything tool. It's like the everything you need.
yeah,
And then they have the insane distribution model of like the affiliates and like the users and the sub accounts and like all that stuff. But
yeah,
at some level, it's like you can't be the best at everything. And
sure,
like ClickFunnels by far was at the time at its at its zone of
yeah,
genius was like crushing, and now like the wave has shifted into this.
yeah,
Even what you said earlier, like we piecemeal things. Like we'll take specific tools that do specific things and layer them together with other ones because I'm like, oh, that's the best at that. That's the best at that, and you have to deal with that. But like you
yeah,
guys, it feels like are doing it all almost. Which at some level there has to be a
sure,
little bit of like you can't do everything the best or like you can't have
yeah,
whatever, but you seem to be doing quite well at it. And there's the errors and the blips, but like
sure,
so payments is definitely a core focus, but
for
then
sure,
within payments, it's like SaaS, agency, info coaching, like all the
yeah,
different layers. It's
for sure,
interesting. It's interesting how you
yeah.
like lean into that.
I would say like ClickFunnels. Like I love Todd and Russell. I think they really just comes down to like how you the internals of how your company works is
Yeah.
what's successful. And so like I would say for them, I just don't think they had the talent to be able to, or the user feedback loop to be able to aggressively be the all-in-one platform.
Yeah.
Like I think they admit that themselves, like they spread themselves a little too thin. And so now you see a retrenchment of like, okay, now we're going to go into funnels, right? And you saw that with ClickFunnels 1.0 where they didn't like I would say Go High Level did a really good job because ClickFunnels launched ClickFunnels 2.0. They weren't migrating their existing 1.0 customers, and it wasn't a product appealing to the 1.0. And then at the same time, Go High Level said we can actually import your
Yeah.
1.0 funnels, and we're going to give you all of these other CRMs and everything else. So I would say ClickFunnels really didn't have the user feedback loop. And for on Go High Levels end, I would say yes, they're the everything app, but like what's the quality associated with that, right? Where what their strategy, love the guys, but it's really just like getting like third world developers to quickly rip something that's trending as quickly as humanly possible. And so how we think about our business is a little more like Uber and Amazon, where like what Amazon did was they said, okay, Ryan, you're you got us into books as a business. You've crushed getting us into books as like a segment. We now want you to go after Kindle. And we gave you really clear response. They gave you really clear responsibility around you own Kindle end to end. And that's not as simple as payments. That means what does fulfillment look like? What does the notifications look like? What does it look like for new businesses to sign up? What does it look like for Warrior Babe level businesses to come onto the platform? And so what we're doing is we're now taking our internal business and we're saying, okay, how do we almost create general managers of coaching and SaaS and agencies and own the end-to-end experience? And I would say we haven't done a great job so far. Like I would say like coaching, we do an amazing job in payments for
Yeah.
sure. We don't do a very good job at owning the fulfillment of coaching. Or for SaaS, we're starting to do a good job in payments, but we don't do such a great job at marketing that we have SaaS products use our platform. And so
Yeah.
I would say it really just comes down for us, like how do we internally make it so people are really incentivized to feel like they own like a segment really tightly and make sure that's successful, right?
Yeah, so you guys do a fantastic job of acquiring talent, and we always have the conversations. And the top people I talk to are like, "Oh yeah," and they'd be interested. Like, I talk to them about maybe doing this, or you already have them join your team in whatever capacity. So the talent attraction of just joining a bunch of cracked out, like moving towards a big mission is real. Is so that
Yeah,
is what you're saying the approach is for this next thing is like you're gonna have someone internal that's like all SaaS for the
for sure.
the first time we ever talked, it was like the onboarding, the flow, like getting them in, and then it was like a scale division almost. It's like, yeah, it's great to
Yeah,
get customers in and have them doing 10K or 100K a month, but like, how do we then help the next part of the journey, which you just said, like fulfillment, help them go from 100K to a million?
for sure. Yeah, right. Like for coaching, when I say like end to end, it's like, okay, it's not just about how we do your payments, how we do your financing. It's okay, you're having a piecemeal now, a webinar tool, and you're having to feed that in a HubSpot, and you're now having to use Zapier and N8N, and now you're having to do an email marketing tool, and you're now having to run your paid ads. And oh, guess what? Your paid ads account just got shut down. Now you're having to run through an omnibus paid ads account. So it's like owning coaching is like not just as simple as payments. It's how do we do everything and provide that for 90, not just the warrior babes that are pushing huge numbers, but also the beginner too. And so I think like for us, we're in that stage right now where it's like, how can we do all of that, but also make it really simple? And that's the hardest part.
Yeah. What does the team look like there now? Like, how big are you guys?
We're 55 people.
Okay. I would think it's almost
Yeah.
bigger at this point. Like, and
Yeah.
are you technically just all New York office, or you guys were talking about multi or?
Yeah. So we have a San Fran office now. We're just got and we're opening up. I would say we had a stage there where we let go of 17 people because I think we're just like I think as a business we could easily like get a nice exit and be like coaching platform and do that. But I think for us we kind of had an internal decision where it's like, okay, we see like no one's doing this right now, no one's trying to create like the make money app where you make money on the internet. And it's like, okay, when I think making money online, I think Whop. No one's really
Yeah.
doing that. Like you see Meta, for example, where it's like their business is like a paid advertising model. They're probably not going to help you make money doing an expertise that you like doing, or making your own business. You've got X, which is kind of doing it. They're like, we're rolling out creator subscriptions, but they're not really doing a great job. And so we're like, okay, cool. We see a really cool opportunity here where no, there's no equivalent of like a Shopify for actually like internet businesses. And so we made a decision to let go of 17 people, and we were like, okay, how are we going to do this? We're going to do it with really dense high quality talent, and we're going to give them really large responsibility. And so for me, for example, like I don't really interact with Cam and Steve all that much. It's more so like, here are your targets, here's what you need to do, go make it happen. And then so for us, like coming back to hiring entrepreneurs, like we optimize for that because how it actually works operationally inside our company is that everyone is kind of their entrepreneurs. You get ownership, and it's kind of a figure it out mentality.
Yeah.
So that's it goes ties back to like how we
Yeah.
structure it.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing though, right? Like we are getting into our first layer of like multi-layer leadership, and that's a whole
Yeah.
new beast, and like owner and comp plans that tie to what KPI, but then it's affected by X so and so's, and you guys get to like it's like a hack and also not a hack, right? Where you have like equity and you have this big massive valuation
Yeah.
moving towards this number and like this big vision that everyone's like, let's just all go here. Ours is a little more
Yeah.
transactional, a little bit more, right? Especially when the
For
KPI is
sure.
like your next paycheck, not your what is my equity number worth in the
Yeah.
future. So yeah, that's super interesting. So where are you guys hiring into right now? Because I see you guys make these hiring posts and it's and what you just said, like sales, but
Yeah.
is that the main?
Yeah, it's mainly go to market. Like we have 3 payment engineers total, and like they've built everything out. So that's fine. And you know, if there's a god tier payments person, we'll bring on. We've got, I would say most of the team's engineering, and I think they're really competent. We're still looking for competent devs, but now it's like okay, we've got product market fit. Now it's we're like we're slowly transitioning with this announcement, which has been good. It's kind of like positioned our business not just like the coaching kind of platform for payments for that. Now it's like payments for online businesses. And now we're like, okay, how do we segment our business to what we want to service and hire people aggressively against that? So mainly sales, mainly account management. But I would say if anyone's really talented and wants to do cool shit, we really take anyone on.
Yeah. Let's jam info coaching specific because you
Yeah,
know everybody. That is like a
sure,
superpower you guys have now, where it's like you see behind the door and like we don't have to say anyone's direct names and dox
sure.
anything, but like even just talking to you guys, it then opened my mind in these directions. And I was looking at other payment tools and like, you know, in comparison to you guys and just all over the board. But I
Yeah,
came upon back quiet people that are doing 2, 3, 400 a year in info
it's
coaching, big
crazy.
names, you know, and then these, and then the ones that we kind of all talk about and know more or like personally know, I've found are the top tier guys are 10, 15 million a month right now. Right. And like
Yeah.
some of them are scaling aggressively. Some of them have kind of been humming at that. But like, where do you see the landscape of these things? Like, what are the main funnel types? Like, let's go deep. So, like,
Yeah,
what are the main funnel types? Are they all like high
yeah.
ticket? Is it a lot of low,
Yeah.
high?
Sure. You're really asking about segmentation. So it's what how I structure my team like is how info coaching essentially has worked is you've got really like high level people in different demographics that have established everything. So as an example, Myron Brunson, right? No, Myron Golden, right? He is like OG. If you ask any like African American like info seller, they've probably heard of Myron Golden, like being killing a spade a spade. You've also got Russell Brunson. You've got Jason Fladland. You've got Jeremy Haynes now popping up. And so, how we essentially segment our business is like, and how we segment our sales is essentially like who started it all and then work down from that tree, right? And so, today we've got like sales reps really deep into like the mastermind crowd, like your Lewis Howes, your Brendan Burchard, your you know, Oliver Nino, who we recently connected with. You've got the more Gexa Nick Fisher crowd, where you've got Performance Golf, Pace Morby. You've got more your Steve Harwood, like Dan Fleischman. You've got with Dan Fleischman, Garrett White, Chris Crone. So
Yeah, dude,
we
it runs
segment.
deep. It runs deep.
So it's like so for example, it's really interesting because whenever we have like new sales reps join, you know, our company, it's like, ah man, I saw Brez Scales and TGR, you know, crushing it, and we're like, hang on, dude, those are actually the smaller fry in the whole equation, right? Um, so I would say like for us, we've had the opportunity to scrape like pretty much all like coaching businesses that are out there, and we've been able to like do a pretty aggressive like figure out who's crushing it organic. Like for example, I think Chris Johnson right now is doing like 2 mil a month just organic on Twitter. Like most people don't know that if they're running paid. They're like, oh my god, that's crazy, right? So we touch multiple sides, but I'm happy to drill into anything specific. But
No,
we
I mean,
know what's
yeah.
going on.
So I was just at Jeremy's event. So let's talk about the current people. So I talk about this a lot on here, but like right now, there's
Yeah.
three or four that are like the info coaching, like our side of the info coaching. You have like OGs who still have their groups. Like
Yeah.
Nick Singal still has his like mastermind and group and his elite,
Yeah.
right? But like of
Yeah.
new age info coaching, it's like Cole Gordon,
Yeah.
Iman, Jeremy, Nick is
Rabbi
talking.
Abubala.
Yeah, and Ravi has like a version of it. I'm saying like who have active
Yeah.
masterminds. So people go to those
Yeah.
events as like the core ones, and I just went to Jeremy's. I went to Iman's as
Yeah.
one. Went to Jeremy's. I'm going to Cole's next month. Daniel Fox.
Yeah.
So like those
Daniel
guys
Fowler
are like
is
standing out, and it's so interesting to me that each one you could be in all of them and like learn different things. Like Iman's is like disgustingly profitable info business, revenue generating events, organic, like
Yeah.
crazy, lean team worldwide. Jeremy's like fucking hammer it and just like
Yeah.
top line and just like spend into it. And it works fantastic for that. Cole's is like tactical and sales. So I don't know. It's just interesting to me that there's all these different like frames and faces and they all
Yeah.
can run these different models, low ticket to high ticket direct.
Yeah.
But they all land back in the same bucket, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like anyone doing numbers is really either running a VSL funnel with like a billion sales reps or like a webinar funnel. And then some people are running a challenge funnel, but that's either like a very Myron Golden tactic, right? Or it's like you're like a Jason Flatley, like you somehow have gone into like Iman level like challenges or
Yeah.
like Hermosi. Like there's like a couple people, like really the main funnels we see is like you have like liquidation SLO to like a VSL or like a quiz funnel or it's like a webinar funnel, and those are like the main ones pushing numbers. It's either like VSL or honestly webinar funnel.
Yeah.
It's funny because like the names you said are all US, which is the interesting part. Like
Which is
I think
also
for
my frame, my own frame, right? It's not the market, it's me.
yeah, like I'll send you, this is an interesting one. Look up 99.xyz. They're probably the biggest like growth operators for Europe, and they run like the biggest offers for like Europe, like the European market. And I think like what's really woken me up to is like, believe it or not, the info coaching space for South America is actually bigger than the
Yeah,
US.
that's what I heard.
It just so happens that all of the transactions in South America are buy now pay later or split payments, right? That's how all their transactions occur. But
Crazy.
um, that's like the bigger. That's actually a bigger market for info products than actually the US is, right? And so when you say like Jeremy Haynes, Daniel Fazio, all those names, that's like the US pocket of things where you have like Nicholas Pede, he crushes Consulting Club. That's like actually more like EU based,
Yeah.
right? So there's a whole different side of it internationally.
Yeah, even Iman's thing, it's like I'm in that group because that was the first thing I paid for, and
Yeah.
90% I feel like is non-US. Like
Yeah.
he pulls like a more worldwide
Sure.
audience. And they talk all the time about like low ticket that is cranking in like the Brazil market and like these different
Yeah.
things that cook. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean the quiz funnel thing is very interesting that you just
Yeah.
said inside there. I'm hearing that and seeing that all over X. Like it's always the what's working now. Jeremy and I talked about this on
Yeah.
ours, but it was like, listen, everything is working now. Just to be like
Yeah.
very blunt here. Like you can go down any lane, hammer it, optimize it, come up with an angle, do something, and the funnel
Yeah.
does not matter. Like what's easier to start? One thing. What's easier to scale? Different like there's yes.
Yeah.
But the
I
Josh
mean,
Gavin low ticket thing is super interesting right now. The webinars,
yeah.
they're coming back, and then everything Hormozy just did, just like the amount of people that are texting, they're like, "How do we beat that?" And it's like, fucking,
Yeah.
you
You know
100.
what my favorite funnel is?
What?
Like there's a, I won't say who. They're actually our biggest creator right now, and they're processing tons, significantly more than Warrior Babe. I'll say that bluntly, giving you a raise.
Easy.
And they what they do is they go to supplement companies and they like small, like imagine like you're an e-commerce store, $20 creatine. They buy every single email from that creatine store, and they do it with hundreds of e-commerce stores, and they buy the lists. And then what they do is they run no paid ads. There's no organic. All they do is they email those lists aggressively saying, "Oh, you just bought creatine or ashwagandha. You should book an implementation call with us," right? And that's all they do. And that implementation call, on the back end of it, there's hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah, I
sales
was gonna
reps,
say how you.
and that's all they run. And it's just like you see that model, and you're just like even for us, right? We're doing like I want to say like 130 to 150 mil a month in just like coaching processing, and it's just like you see that model and you're like, oh my god, we're missing a whole market to that, right? And so it's like, for me, it's like it doesn't really matter what you're doing. You're totally right. It's more like, are you crunching numbers? Are you seeking feedback constantly? And are you surrounding yourself with more circles? Like a
Yeah.
lot of, like, for us, our favors are like, oh, you're in Jeremy Haynes's mastermind right now. Amazing. Have you thought about also going to the Atlas mastermind that Russell Brunson runs that's 250K a year to get a different perspective, right? So I would say that's what it more comes down to.
Yeah, it's crazy when you get to like certain XYZ size, whether it's half a million a month, million a month, whatever, and you go to these things and they're like 30 grand or 250 grand, like they all are that much at this point.
Yeah.
But you go to these and you pick up like literally one thing that you can use, and it's like, oh, I just got a 5% lift on this, or like my show rates went from 50% to 70%. It's like that's
Yeah.
millions of dollars. Like in
Yeah.
fact, that's why those are so fun now. Like
Yeah.
because like you can just pick up. I was on my way out of the door at Jeremy Haynes' thing, and some guy was like, oh, like ask me XYZ thing. And then he goes, wait, have you done this? And he shows me something on his thank you page. And I was like I
Yeah.
was on my way out the door and I was like, screenshot, take a picture of his phone, like send it to the
It's
team. And I was like,
crazy.
implement this right now. Like this is crazy behavior. And there's just so many
Yeah.
other little tweaks and hacks. But it's so interesting. The other guys I see that really crush, because if you want to start talking like 200, 300s, and you're going to know better than I do, but like the guys I know,
Yeah.
almost all of them have some sort of direct to cart functionality in the front. Like almost none of them are going
Yeah.
direct quiz or going direct VSL, like, I'm sorry, direct to a call because
Yeah.
of, the volume and then the economics that you get with having
Yeah.
massive buyer base and over time they ascend and they direct
Yeah.
ascend. So that's like a very interesting thing that we're starting to
I mean,
figure out.
it's not coaching, dude. It's just paid ads, right? We're not in the coaching industry. We're in the paid ads industry,
Yeah.
right? Unless you're running like some crazy operation like the one I just mentioned, it's really just like, do you understand data? Are you able to crunch the numbers? Do you understand the platforms and their algorithms, or do you understand hiring and can hire someone to do that? And like, for you, for example, like your day is just crunching numbers, right? Like that's why it all works, right? You're
Yeah.
crunching, ROAS, your conversion rate, you're crunching show rate, all of these different numbers, and that's all it is, right?
Yeah.
And so for us, like, when we think about like what actually I really enjoy really going in the space is, I like talking to people like you, because it's like it doesn't really matter if you're doing like a women's weight loss offer or not, like,
Yeah.
because you
The
understand
product.
how it works. Like you could do like I love what Jordan Lee's doing, for example, with AI acquisition. They went from the growth partner, and he knows all the same paid ads and CSM models, and it's all the same architecture. He's just flipped the script and said it's now an AI arbitrage agency, and now they're doing better than ever, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I like, and that's why I don't think this industry will ever die. Because let's say if coaching or courses, no longer becomes the fad and it becomes software, well, cool. You just crunch the numbers and run paid ads aggressively against software, which people are already doing, right? So that's why we like tying back to Whop. That's why we position ourselves as a business model platform, because it doesn't really matter if it's courses or
No.
agencies. It's all the same formula.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see. I know you guys already you said it in there, but the physical product thing will be super interesting because the more
Yeah,
and more I see, that's a big conversation that a lot of info coaching people seem to be having. That's like, where do I offset the AI revolution part? And it's like, okay, cool. Right now they ride the wave and they monetize it by throwing AI
yeah,
in their name or doing whatever. But when the true
sure,
functionality of AI comes, like true, and all the personalization exists, and like that's kind of the more or less benefit to having like a direct coach or getting like the group coaching or one-to-one access is the personalization of the content based on your
yeah,
context and all that. So like once we get to a point where that's kind of democratized more or less, like
yeah,
there's going to be another play is what people keep saying is there's going to be this other play for physical products. There's going to be this other
yeah,
play for stuff like that. And it would be so cool to see that all in one inside WAP where it's
for
like,
sure.
you can do because right now it's obviously it's like Shopify lives for that. You guys are day by day becoming more and more and more like the Shopify for, like you said, online business or info coaching right now. And
Yeah, yeah. I think my honest opinion is we're probably like physical products. Yeah, Nick Fisher was talking about events. I think like we're probably gonna move more towards like more bespoke experiences, where it's like, for example, for us, it's like, okay, you as Ryan could, for example, let's say your Pace Morby as an example, just keeping with the Nick Fisher example. Pace Morby could, do this low ticket, then to high ticket, then to obviously has a real estate fund where he makes a ton of money on. I think what we'll probably start to see is like, okay, skip the low ticket and high ticket. I now have a community. AI lets me launch my own fund instantly, right?
Mhm.
And so I think, or like, for example, in trading, right, what you see is like the TGR model where it's like you sell high ticket, like, trading coaching, you have low ticket, and then it's like, now you're in my prop firm. And a lot of these traders make a ton of money on their prop firms, right? And so for us, I think it'll more so become like AI will make it easier to spin up these more unique experiences where it's like, okay, instead of going the whole route of like launching, my info product and coaching, I'm just going to launch a trading exchange and I'm just going to make money off all the fees. And we already see that in sports betting where people, yeah,
Yeah, that's the big picture in general. So like we've talked offline, I'm not going to talk about it here, but like the
yeah,
bigger stuff we're doing that's like in that direction, and like info
sure,
coaching is a mean, and it's a liquidation of your spend, but the big
yeah,
picture stuff like a prop firm, or I always use the example, and we can workshop it here, of insurance. I use it all
yeah,
the time. I've seen two big people I know direct to it, and like four or five I know that are like medium, which is still large. And
yeah,
all of them do it because they can do info coaching. They can run them. They have the acquisition where they can use paid. They use info coaching for like consumption, warmth, liquidation, all the things. And then where they make insane amounts of money is insurance, like actual insurance,
yeah,
being like
yeah,
licensed in that way. People then do it like the next layer up where like they're teaching people who are already in insurance for their role and their job.
yeah.
They come into there, then they're inside their firm, and then they get like overrides. Like you start to see more and more people doing that. Like even
It's nuts.
Will Rivera now is like, he's going full like Medicare, and it's like he's taking
Yeah,
the business model and then he's like applying it there. Or there's other guys that do it that do
yeah.
like
Spencer
layered,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah,
Yeah,
they do
yeah, yeah.
layered things inside like downlines and what, like that's where they're making big money, to my understanding, big
Super
money,
interesting.
right?
Yeah,
And so I don't know where WAP can go to like monetize that as or be part of that picture as well.
yeah.
But that'd be
I think
so
insurance is
interesting.
tough. Insurance is
Yeah,
harder,
yeah,
but like,
insurance is a little harder.
I'll give you an example. Right now in sports betting, like it was very popular for people to sell picks. Like you join my $20 a month community, and I'll sell you a sports bet. And now what we're seeing them move towards is actually a funded sports betting model, which is like
I saw that.
morality aside, but it's like you're essentially like prove that you can consistently bet, and we'll fund you like a prop firm. And then on the back end, what they do is they'll sell data, right? As some of them will do. And so like we're actively seeing businesses go from I want to sell a paid Discord to I want to now sell a equivalent of a prop firm in sports betting. And so
Yeah.
for us, we're like, okay, we're going to build the app associated with white labeling, building your own challenges. Or for example, you'll probably see in dating where instead of like an influencer selling a like we're already seeing it, but like instead of an influencer selling like dating, courses and whatnot, you'll probably say, hey, here's my curated dating app for young professionals with, a really big shiny ClickFunnels plaque in the background. Like they'll probably sell that more curated as the product they're
Yeah.
selling. And so I think before you see like we're all going to do events and
Yeah.
we're going to do like physical products is the only way, at that point we're probably all checked out, right? Like it's probably over at that stage and we're all like, I'm a plumber and you're working on like an oil rig. But I would say before it comes to that, it's probably going to become more like boutique experiences that
Yeah.
are that you use Meta and their distribution engine to actually get consumers to buy, where instead of Warrior Babe being like, a coaching, now it's like, okay, upload, like now you can make your own, biological data platform where it's like you get all their metrics and you
Yeah.
get all of their, and maybe you don't even have a coach fulfilling it. You just have someone that walks you through like, hey, your blood pressure's X, you should do Y. And it's like you're a novel SaaS platform. It
Yeah.
probably move more towards that.
I agree. I agree. That's definitely the next step. And like even that's the direction we're going. It's like figuring out the other monetization plays that like go against the wave, that go in the
Yeah.
other direction. Cause the last thing we want to do is do something that's like AI on the back. And a lot of people, I see so many people already doing it where they're using AI in like their highest tier thing.
Yeah.
And I just don't know how long that lasts. Excuse me. I don't know how
Yeah.
long that lasts because it's like the whole point, even what you're saying, is like the opposite direction of that. It's like bespoke and unique and like this other
Yeah.
do this versus, hey, it's me, but it's just me AI. And it's like,
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
paid
yeah.
50 grand for this, and instead of talking to the person, I'm talking to the version of AI of them, and, like, there's value to
Yeah,
it. Is it worth 50 grand when someone else is selling it for 5 grand or $5 a month for,
sure.
that? So, yeah, I don't know, the AI thing's interesting, but
I think it's more SaaS. Like, for example, like before this whole AI boom happened, you had like Mr. Beast launch View Stats. And like that was really interesting because that's like Mr. Beast, I'm the number one YouTuber. I am selling you an app around YouTube analytics. And I think what you'll probably see is like a faster feedback loop around that, similar to what like the Cal AI guys are doing, where it's like, okay, I'm launching Cal AI. It took me a second to build this. I'm going to ram paid ads aggressively against and UGC aggressively against my AI product. I'm going to sell that. I think what you'll see is probably like more like coaching and info people be like, okay, wow, I don't have to sell a course. I can now quickly spin up like a real estate tool or a fund or a different model to differentiate themselves. It's kind of like I think Blake Roca, shout out Blake, did a really great job where he was like, in order to differentiate his info product, he was like, okay, instead of just selling like Airbnb coaching, I'm going to sell you Airbnb coaching with a SaaS. I think what you'll see is a faster, like, we're going to sell SaaS products like on the back end of, or maybe the entire product instead of a course. And I think AI will expedite that less so than it's like, like get into Amazon FBA and you get my AI. Like that's not as cool, right? And I don't
yeah.
think that was work as well.
So within Whop, you're saying you could do that? So you would be able to sell the
Yeah.
info, and then you would just create an app inside there that's private or unique to your group and
Yeah,
community?
we're already starting to do that, right? So like we did a hackathon yesterday. We partnered with actually like a crypto company. It was like if you build the best app with the most usage, you get $500,000. And we had like 70 like of really smart like SaaS developers come in and start building Whop apps. And so some of them built like an email marketing tool, an AI Shopify building tool, a GPT agent where you could white label it to make it Warrior Babe agent, or and like a bunch of other unique experience. Like some of them even built like loans where it's like you can take your Whop MOR data and then get a credit line against that, right? And they'll fund it with like a third party provider. So that's where like we're now moving towards where it's like, okay, now that we have payments, how do we make it so like if you as Ryan Clogg, Warrior Babe might not work as well because you have a white labeled solution and you don't care as much about network effects because you're at a certain scale. But for example, if someone wants to be the next Warrior Babe, good luck, but they could instantly add all of like these Whop apps to build that trainerized unique experience you have, maybe with a little bit more without having a developer and doing it in 5 minutes, right? That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's so interesting. So you guys are talking about the payments, just to like hold the thread there for a second. I saw you talking about kind of like lines of credit, like invoicing. You guys were talking about what else is included in payments that like this first iteration was, hey, go to market, public, we
Yeah.
can take anyone now and we can beat Stripe fees and we can do like the general transaction portion. We can do rebilling. We can do,
Yeah.
whatever's there. Plus, again, it is a superpower and it kind of exists within Stripe with Klarna, Affirm, Afterpay. I think are the three core ones that they,
Yeah.
but like you can like toggle them on or get approved. You
Sure.
guys having that with the two you have right now for Klarna and Split It mainly,
Yeah.
it's huge. Like just me telling you, like from a standpoint of someone who like runs these things and like the sales reps having to use forms and being able to
Yeah.
go to one dedicated form and like have these options in one UI and then now even embed them is like
Yeah.
that's a big step in the right direction just in itself.
Sure.
And then
Yeah.
well, like beyond that, what you said, there's invoicing, there's credits, there's what?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like I can't speak on specifically what they're doing, but like my personal take is like why wouldn't you have your Whop dashboard and do your QuickBooks? Or why wouldn't you also launch your webinar in your Whop dashboard? Or why wouldn't you get
Webinars would
VCC?
go crazy if you had a direct
Yeah,
now.
right. Like why wouldn't you make a bunch of Warrior Babe branded VCCs that you give all of your sales reps, right? So I think it's more like the payments game is complicated, and I actually give Stripe a lot of like kudos and anyone trying to go into payments a lot of like my admiration because it's more complicated than you think under the hood.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but
That's
now
what kind of my question. I was like, why at
yeah,
some point, like where do you draw the line on like
yeah,
what you guys build versus someone who's like the best at it ever?
yeah.
And
I
then
would
like you just integrate.
Yeah, I would say there's an interesting like thing called bundling and unbundling of software. And so it's either you unbundle something if you're building a software company or you bundle something. And what I mean by that is Unbundling would be like the chat GPT API. That's like you get the API, you can, that's what they sell. They sell an API for it. Broadcom or Cisco, that's like unbundling. They're literally selling you the hardware to run your business. And then there's bundling, where like Stripe is actually a bundle of Visa, MasterCard, Amex, and their relationship with Klarna, Afterpay, Affirm. That's like a bundled product. And then they're using Fifth Third Bank as like their treasury provider. It's not actually Stripe, there's a bank underwriting it. And they're actually, Stripe is actually built almost entirely on Cross River Bank, which is a neobank that actually powers everything under the hood, right? And that's a bundle. And so for us, like where our value is like, yeah, we're not going to make our own Visa, MasterCard, Amex network. We actually route transactions through Stripe under the hood as one of our processors. We're not going to be Stripe. But where we think our unique value is if you're trying to start an online internet business, there's like no one's nailed that aspect of I can simply go to one platform and I can make money online and I get cool new ideas and I can go to market really quickly. No one's really done that. And so our equivalent of bundling is like, okay, maybe you do want invoicing, maybe you do want VCCs, maybe you do want treasury products, maybe you do want to launch a webinar. And so that's kind of what we're trying to move towards, is like specifically for online businesses and, you know, maybe even soon physical businesses, how do we bundle the most useful tools together so you don't have to think about anything else?
Yeah. It's super interesting. That's a
Yeah.
super interesting way, because it's like it goes back and forth on like where you draw the line, but
Yeah.
when you hmm like financing, for example. I'm sorry, my brain is like spinning. But so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
financing,
Yeah.
for example, I was talking to someone the other day and they're like, oh yeah, like at certain scale, like you create your own financing arm and like you have your whole own financing entity and like you are like the bank who does the financing, you finance yourself and like doing all this stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to do that. Like I'm not in that business. And so
Yeah.
like we stopped it there, but like you guys have the ability to do that. Like you could
Yeah.
create what you could be one of your financing partners, for example, and be one of those instead of leveraging their whole setup. Because like
Yeah.
an integration, you don't do that yourself right now.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. The
For
app
sure.
marketplace, it's just everywhere. I don't know how you guys focus
Yeah.
or like
It's
break
like
down.
focus is so tough, right? Like for me, even starting a week, I literally only have one thing I'm focusing on. That's hiring. Like that's actually the only thing I'm focusing on. I have an existing team, right? So I think it's like that is the aim of the
Yeah,
game, right?
yeah.
Like it's literally just like focus. That's like the hardest part. I think the thing that I think we do really well, and I think where Steven crushes and Cameron and Steve do an amazing job, is they understand the heuristics that actually matter, right? They understand like no matter like okay, yes, we could add we could add invoicing right now if we wanted to. It doesn't take us long to ship. We get that live in 30 minutes. That's not that hard. What actually is the harder part is how do we make invoicing happen in our API, which doesn't jumble our entire API and make the building blocks that we use internally super convoluted and confusing and create a bunch of tech debt. That's like, and for example, for you, it's like, okay, yeah, we could roll out our own financing product, easily raise a bunch of debt financing. We could create a syndication, like no issues at all. But like that adds like how do you make in our API like what a financing transaction is? How do you define what debt is in our API? How do you manage that at scale, right? So it's more like the focus and it's is more like what do you remove, not necessarily what you add.
Yeah.
And like I think the reason why we can do so much is we're not actually building the apps, we're actually building the architecture for the apps. And then we've got one person marketing aggressively focusing on we need people building Whop apps, right? So I would say it does sound like we're doing a lot, but what we're really doing is we're just saying like we're building the core infrastructure, making that really good, and letting third parties build on top of us. Like we don't actually have our own financing solutions. We've just done really smart deals. So like Split It, for example, where they're upkeeping all of it. They're for example responsible, and all we're doing is just bundling, to make it more accessible to more people.
Yeah, no, 100%. So you said it on the last one, but like people coming there, getting their idea, doing that, like how much do you guys see comes from, because you have like a whole network effect system going on with like the discovery
Yeah,
feed and like I even get trapped in there sometimes. I'll be like, I'll log in
yeah,
something in the dashboard and I'll like click on another tab and all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, someone's selling how to do this or like how to do this thing. And I'm like, that could
yeah,
be one like weekend adventure to learn how to do that. So like
yeah.
you guys obviously have all the data and tracking and different people get affiliate from that and like crazy shit. But
Yeah.
how much do you see that people do that? Like they jump from, or that like they use the Discover feed, for example, and that people are actually like that's a source of traffic for their business.
Or I would say like 5 to 10% of our volume comes from Discover.
That's a
I would
lot.
say. I would say like in terms of we've got a long way to go. Like, I think my ideal, like now that we're getting clear on segments, like I would love to have like a coaching segment of the marketplace. And it's like you can like the value for you now is like you probably don't care that much about Discover because you run a high ticket
Zero.
product, right? But if I listed Warrior Babe and got you email addresses, and that was a really efficient way to get you emails and people opting in, that's probably a more valuable Discover. And so I would say the Discover is like okay. It's a little bit all over the place. Like we're kind of working on it. We're A/B testing it. It's interesting. But I would say we're very soon going to start moving towards like, okay, how do we make discovering valuable to our different segments, right? So
Yeah,
it's
like
useful, but not quite
you
yet.
like Udemy or whatever, like log in there and it's like you type in like investment banking and like it's like there's 5,000 courses and you just go by reviews and like you buy one for $29 and like I
Yeah.
all the time. Like I do that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
But
sick.
yeah, like some version of that. And then the affiliate thing is super interesting.
Yeah.
Obviously like a growth tool, like inside just being able to toggle on affiliate and discover like for Discover. But I
Yeah.
almost wonder like because my brain just spins every time I think about like how many different functions and sections are inside there. But see,
Yeah.
because affiliates feeds
Me
into
too.
Discover. Yeah, exactly. Like feeds into Discover, feeds into like each community. But the other thing that like ClickFunnels right now is doing, or there used to be a company and I'm blanking, I think it was like Strike or Strike Point or something.
Yeah.
A super cool thing with like lead funnels, and they sold it as like a software kind of where you opted in for someone's, then you could opt into the other list, and then like all the other big guys took that like right after, and like the
Yeah.
all the journaling or whatever platforms you call those, the Substacks and stuff, they have that.
Yeah.
It's like you're done, and then you can just like quick check
It's
box.
Beehive does it. It's
Yeah,
like
so they
lists.
had that
Yeah.
with low ticket products at one point that I saw, and then I just heard that ClickFunnels is doing a version of that where you can like use someone else on the
Offer
platform.
Lab. It's
Yeah,
called Offer
offer
Lab.
that. Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
gonna be like taking that and allowing you to use someone else's product for your OTO or for your other thing. And like in my mind,
Yeah.
it's like directly fits with your guys' model where it's like if I get this crypto thing, then I also want this either app or this XYZ.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah, it's like it's I mean I hope everyone's going to Whop to get inspired and buys products. I think the only the tough part is like how do you get the businesses to list on there, and then like how do you get them to find value in it, and then
yeah,
it's like the end to end. Like I think like the tough part for us is like okay, yes, we could add like confetti to our checkout, for example, or invoicing, but what does the end to end flow look like of like an agency using invoicing but also running their business? So it's it can be tough because it's like you could hyper obsess and add all these different things, but if you don't look at it as a whole organism, then you kind of miss and it becomes messy later. And I think we've made a lot of mistakes doing that a lot of
yeah,
times.
that's fair.
Yeah.
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 All right, we're coming to an end here soonish.
Yeah.
You got any final bullets, final amazingness of what is to come for WAP? Bum bum bum. We used
Yeah. I
100
think,
billion on the last one, so
hey,
we used 100 billion as what the target was on the last recording with Steven and Cam.
yeah, geez, that's what keeps me up at night. Like he's got to add that 100 billion, right?
Your
I
sales team.
think, yeah, maybe. Look, man, I think for us, like we just want to build dope product for cool people on the internet, right? And so I think like I could say like we obviously want to make a fuck ton of money, right? I think that would be awesome, but um I think more so like for us, like hopefully we keep talking to really cool people and hopefully we have more conversations to anyone listening to this, and whatever you want to do on the internet, I hope we can build for that and you find value in it. Like as long as we're doing that, I think we'll do great things.
Well, shill your thing. So what? So sales reps can come in. Are they New York specific base? Can it be remote? It's equitable.
It's all New York. You have to like funnily enough, I always like to say this whenever someone says, "Oh, can I be remote?" I'll like Zoom is a fully in-person company, dude. Come on now. So it's fully in person, 130K base. You get a percentage of the the gross profit you close. Top reps make about 1 million a year, a mil to 1.2 per year. You get equity at our previous
They're making $1 million.
valuation.
They're making $1 million cash flow, like, or in equity,
$1 million like in
right?
cash
Oh
plus
wow,
equity.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, pre-tax. About like the highest is like 1.2 mil in a year. Um, yeah, I mean, if you're running it, our best hires have been growth operators or agency owners that are making like 10 to 100K per month. They're like, oh shit, like I actually want to do cool things, and we normally hire those. So if anyone's listening that does that, like you can still run your agency as long as it's not taking up 100% of your time.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then they're going to be responsible for going after a segment, or they're, and
Yeah.
owning that. Okay, very cool.
What we do right now is we do like a 7 day. We do 2 interviews, 7 day in person trial, and then we get like existing sales reps as pods with the trial hire, and then we pin them against each other for like 7 days. So
Okay.
if you want to do cool things and be your own entrepreneur, it's kind of an interesting way to do it in a company.
Yeah, I love it. All right, well, cool. And
Sick,
I'll put your X below this, but your Gronk
sick.
way.
There you
Gronk
go.
is all right. Cool.
Sick.
You're amazing. We can maybe talk about our stuff public one day soon, but
Yeah,
until
sick.
then, we leave it.
Appreciate you, dude. Thank
Appreciate
you. Of
you. Talk soon.
course.